So we're back here on 970 wrapping up the show, and Dave Liniger has been on the entire show today, the chairman and founder of RE/MAX. If you missed the show, check out our podcast. We'll also have videos and kind of the video of the show, so you can hear Dave's interview. It was a great interview, lots of great information about our market and markets across the country. But I wanted to wrap up the show today. Adam Rauman from Boss Arrighi and Hoag. We were talking in the break about and Dave mentioned this in his interview. Kind of the small time investors getting a shot here now that the hedge funds have kind of moved on. And it's really important for those investors to make sure to set things up right, to best protect themselves, whether it's an LLC or a land trust. We wanted to talk for a few minutes about things you guys can do to help that investor make sure that they're not opening themselves up to liability.
Well, our firm is Boss Arrighi Hoag, but our website is protectyourfuture.com. So we're really looking to do that, protect you, your future, your assets. And one of the ways to do that is to own rental property in LLCs or in a land trust or a combination of the two. The benefit of an LLC is it's going to limit your liability if anything happens with regards to that property. So
a lot of people are intimidated about setting up an LLC, but it's really pretty easy to do.
It's pretty easy to do. The advantage of working with an attorney to get that done is we're going to make you look like a real legitimate company. We're going to have an operating agreement for you. We're going to get it set up with the state. We're going to get you an EIN number. We're going to tell you how to get the taxes done, and we're going to tell you the pros and cons of getting it done that way. And
we talked about land trusts, and we were talking in the break about that, and it's interesting because land trusts a few years ago really got a bad rap because of there were short sale people that were doing some underhanded gray area stuff with not disclosing they were owners and flipping short sales and a lot of stuff like that I think a lot of people just started assuming land trusts where anytime they'd see a land trust, I mean something shady was going on. But that's not really it's not happening as much anymore with short sales, but that's not really the case. It's a great vehicle for a lot of people to own properties in.
Well, one of the major advantages of a land trust is the anonymity of owning the property. So whoever's listed as the trustee, and typically you want to have a third party listed, they're the ones that's listed as the owner. The actual beneficiaries, the people that control the property, they're not listed anywhere at all. And a land trust is the reverse of a normal trust. So in a traditional revocable trust, the trustee tells the beneficiaries what they can do. In a land trust, the beneficiaries tell the trustees what to do with the property. You can keep the sale of the property if you sell it. That whole transaction can be anonymous because you can just trade out beneficiaries in the land trust, and the owner, the trustee, stays the same.
And that's a great vehicle for people that are concerned about people knowing too much about what they own or how many properties they may own. And I think, like I told you, the one obstacle in that realm is because of some of the shady stuff that happened with land trusts and things that people did, things they were hiding. It makes it look like even when you're doing something completely legitimate, selling a property or owning a property, there's a stigma. So that's something you got to work through. And I think it's important for investors to come up with that kind of a game plan. And when you're buying one property or two properties, and maybe you don't have as many assets, as you grow your asset base, it becomes more and more important to from a liability perspective.
Well, the LLCs do two things for you. Number one, on the personal side, if something were to happen and you were to get sued as an individual, maybe you're in a car accident that was your fault, then the LLC property is protected from that end. Also, on the reverse side, if something happens on that property, your personal assets are protected from the suit regarding the LLC property.
Right, and that is something that a lot of investors, as they start out, they don't really get set up the right way, and eventually it can come back to bite you. I mean, now there are other ways. We've had Richard from Artisan Insurance on, and there's ways where you can have extra liability coverage and an umbrella policy. And there's other risk mitigation ways that you could do it. And I think it just depends on how complex you get, how many properties you own, and how concerned you are about the liability. But those extra steps aren't as complicated sometimes as people may think. It's, yes, there's an extra tax return, and yes, there's a fee to set up the LLC, but if you mentioned a dog bite, in the break, somebody gets bit by a dog and you got a lawsuit.
You're looking at strict liability, so it doesn't really matter what you're doing on the insurance side.
Right.
You're going to have it coming after you. So when you have that property, even if you have a no pet policy for that rental, friend may bring over a dog that day, the dog may run out and bite a kid, and then you're really in trouble. Right.
And I think that's something that, investors need to pay more attention to is, they're all about making that return, but that return for many years could get wiped out if you don't do things, if you don't set them up properly and really protect your asset, protect, the other letters of the asset that, you lose a couple letters on asset, and that's what you're protecting.
Well, we did a quick search, and I think the most expensive dog bite settlement we saw was somewhere around $1.2 million. So they can get extremely expensive. Some of them are small, but a lot of them can get much higher.
So again, you've been listening to the Duncan Duo Real Estate Show. If you've been tuned in, missed Dave Liniger's interview, you can check it out on our website and our YouTube channel by searching for the Duncan Duo. We'll have the podcast up as well, and send out a video announcement.